All right, but in the future, if you guys have Zoom issues, please let me know, and we can talk to Zoom rep, and because I know sometimes people get kicked off and things like that. All right. Well, we went to breakout rooms a lot today. Usually, we only go about like once and spend like a good amount of time just coaching, but we did a couple different exercises back and forth. So we got lots of good practice in breakout rooms. So now we're just gonna spend the last couple of minutes just going around the room, just sharing your takeaway from today, or just how you're feeling. So who would like to go?
I'll go.
Thanks, Stacy.
I am feeling pretty excited about this. It honestly surprised me a little bit that the kind of breaking it down to the fundamental steps didn't come as naturally to me as I would have thought, just because I've always thought I was a decent listener, but it really is just kind of a different way of thinking. And I really enjoyed kind of the challenge of really asking questions that would not have been in the normal way I would structure a conversation.
Mm-hmm. So you're gonna get pushed outside of your normal.
Yep.
Well, awesome. All right. What about you, Kanika?
I think I have something similar what she said. I mean, got pushed out of my normal, definitely. Talking less and listening more was interesting. I was surprisingly fun. And being a consultant myself, like Mike, it's a little hard to just stop talking and advising and just laying back and listen. So that was very good. And I think powerful questions was something that I've never practiced before. I didn't, you don't ask people how do you feel kind of questions usually. So that was interesting, very exciting.
Very cool. I'm excited for you guys. What about you, Sarah?
Yeah, I'm pretty similar to you guys. It's different for me. Rob and I talked about as far as an online class and this kind of setup. I'm sort of used to just sitting and taking a lot of notes and absorbing. And so being this interactive right away and talking and trying things and practicing is a little bit challenging, but I feel like I can grow in it. So that's exciting. It's like right now I'm like, whoa, like kind of a reality check of where my skills are and my levels. So like, yeah, I thought I'll be pretty good at this. But it's a challenge, but I feel like once of it, like it's going to be really wonderful benefit to have.
Yeah, for sure. I know it's surprising how like just you can engage on this level like after like doing the reading and the listening to the recordings, and it's like, okay, let's play with it now. It's definitely stretching, but it's really cool, Sarah. So I'm glad that you're here. Glad that you liked it. What about you, Robin?
Excited about it, yes, and learned a few new things about the basic communication and listening, and I've always been a pretty good question asker. I don't know what that is, but questioner, whatever. I think my biggest thing probably would be slowing down in talking a little bit and not being so quick to get to the point. So that's going to have to be something I'll work on a little bit, but I'm very excited about it, and I think it's going to be a great journey.
So instead of questioner, Robin, you could say coach.
There we go. Yes.
I believe you guys already are coaches. We're just growing your skills. So awesome. All right. What about you, Asia? What's your takeaway? Oh, you're muted. All right, I'll come back to you, Asia. Yes, Ed?
I'm excited to do this. For me, it's new. I never did life coach class by internet. I did a few ones in class, but I'm excited to see how this is going. And I like the way you do the class. I like the exercise, and I'm excited to see this. I have a question for you. I did a mistake about the time because I was thinking is 4 to 6 in Florida. It's not. My mistake. I take responsibility. It's my mistake. Okay, and I have a flying next week to Pennsylvania,
Okay.
and exactly 7 p.m. I'm gonna be in the airplane.
Okay.
How can I do the class? Can you tape? It sent to me. How does this work?
Yes. So you can miss up to 4 classes and still pass. What John was talking about, 30 for 30, you can actually make up the hours. And so I'd recommend doing that just so you don't miss out on the practice. But every class is recorded, except I don't record breakout rooms. That's people's private time coaching. So it's going to be available. The YouTube list is linked on the materials page. So you can click on it and you can watch the video from next class. No problem. And be able to catch up with what we talked about. And then if you have questions about what was talked about or the reading, you can feel free to email me. We can keep you in the loop about everything.
All right. Thank you.
You're welcome. All right. What about you, Mike?
I had a question about these levels of listening. How would you describe the experience of the client as the coach gets better at listening and moves into the second and third levels? How does that come across as different to them?
Yeah, and the more you experience it, switching from coach to client, and that's why I think it's so helpful in this class is that you get experience coaching. But from what I've seen with hundreds of clients is, it's almost like they feel more understood, and you can ask even more curious, precise questions when you're listening. And I feel like holding space, a lot of times, they're just I just feel like you get it, and they just, I feel like even more of a connection with the coach and the client and the trust in the relationship when there's less said and more space being held. I know I've experienced it myself. And I've, been coached by John too. And it's another really talented coaches who can get into that, really upper level listening. And I think for me, it's they realize things and help point out things that you didn't even notice. Because when you get up to upper level, you're asking about I noticed that your voice got higher when you started talking about that. And you ended up that you had some anxiety about it. I mean, it's amazing what comes out of it. And so the client's experience, I feel like they feel more understood because the coach can ask even more precise questions. And I mean, you got to experience it yourself too. And as we, practice coach client, you'll feel that more. But I know for me personally, what I've seen is clients blossom almost even more so when they're listened to on those upper levels. Level 1, they don't, they feel like maybe it's a casual conversation that there's kind of you're nodding along. Level 2, they're like, that's they might say something like, oh, that's a good question, or they might write something down. Or another key indicator for level 2 is they might cry because it's such a deep question. And level 3 is to the point where cry or writing something down where it's just they're almost what do I how they don't even know because it's how did you know to ask that? So that's kind of the progression that I've seen. Does that answer your question, Mike?
Yeah, that's great. Thank you.
Yeah. All right, and Asia, your thoughts here as we wrap up.
I'm definitely optimistic about the coming weeks in the course. Kind of feel like how Sarah does. It was you had that mini assessment of oh man, I thought my skills were all right, and you're oh no, this is harder than I thought. So that was really good to have that check yourself moment. Definitely looking forward to the knowledge and the growth that I'm willing to be open and ready for. And yeah.
Awesome. Well, it's such a pleasure meeting you guys and connecting with you. So I'm going to send a follow-up email with the link to the Facebook page. And then on your materials page, because it's still not loading for me, there should be a Design the Alliance handout, because that'll be helpful for next week. But I'm going to attach that to my email as well, because it's kind of like how you would walk through designing the Alliance with a client, which will be helpful for next week. So just in case it's not there, I'm going to send that as well. And then if you guys need anything, feel free to email me at any time. Just a question about the reading or just a thought, or you need something, just feel free to reach out anytime, and I'll do my best to respond as promptly as my arms are free. But again, it was a pleasure meeting you guys all, and I'm excited to be on this journey with you.
It was a pleasure
You
meeting
too.
you.
Thank you.
Definitely. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, so I'll see you guys all next Wednesday night, except Ed, but we'll miss you, and we'll record it, and we'll think of you, and I hope you guys have a great rest of your night.
Thank you.
Bye, guys.
Bye-bye.